History loves a good winner's story. The underdog triumph, the brilliant strategy, the turning point where everything changed. But here's the thing about America's survival. A lot of the time, it wasn't brilliance. It wasn't destiny. It was luck. Dumb, random, shouldn't have worked luck. A storm that showed up at exactly the right time. A guy who overslept. Another guy who just didn't follow orders. Today, we're talking about 6 moments when America didn't get saved by heroes. It got saved by accident. Let's see how close we came to not being here. Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the moment's history, almost went a completely different direction. This isn't about what America did right. This is about what didn't go wrong, even though it absolutely should have. So buckle up, because these stories, they shouldn't have endings. The fog that saved the revolution. August 1796. The Revolutionary War is barely a year old, and it's already going terribly. George Washington and about 9,000 American troops are trapped in Brooklyn. The British have them surrounded on 3 sides, the East Rivers on the 4th. There is no escape route, no reinforcements, no miracle plan. The British general, William Howe, could end the entire revolution right here. Just march in and capture Washington. Game over. America loses before it even starts, and he's going to do it. Tomorrow morning. Washington realizes he has one option. Evacuate. All 9,000 men, across the river, at night, in complete silence. If the British notice, they'll be slaughtered in the water. So they start rowing, hundreds of trips back and forth. It's taking forever. The sun's going to come up any minute. And then a massive fog rolls in. Out of nowhere. So thick you can't see 10 feet in front of you. The British wake up, walk to the edge of their camp, and see nothing, just fog. They have no idea the entire Continental Army is leaving. By the time it clears, Washington and every single soldier are gone. If that fog doesn't show up, there's no Washington, no army, no revolution. America ends in 1776. Instead, we got a weather pattern. Pure, dumb luck. The message that arrived too late. Let's fast forward to 1814. The War of 1812 is not going well for America. The British are marching toward Washington, D.C., and the city is practically undefended. President Madison's already fled. So has most of Congress. The British walk into the Capitol and burn it. The White House. The Capitol building. The whole thing. This is a disaster. But here's where it gets weird. The British had a plan to keep pushing south and crush what's left of America's government. They were supposed to march to Baltimore next, take Fort McHenry, and basically finish the job. But there's a problem. A message from British command gets delayed for days. When it finally arrives, it tells them to pull back. The war is basically over. Peace talks are happening in Europe. But if that message had come on time, the British would have already left D.C. and taken Baltimore. No battle. No star-spangled banner. No symbolic American victory to rally around. Instead, the delay gives America just enough time to mount a defense at Fort McHenry. And that becomes the moment the country refuses to die. All because a letter got stuck in transit. Again, luck. The Soviet officer who said no. Okay, this one's dark. October 27, 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The world is closer to nuclear war than it's ever been. A Soviet submarine is deep underwater off the coast of Cuba. It's been down there for days. No communication with Moscow. They have no idea what's happening up top. And then, American destroyers start dropping depth charges on them. Now, these aren't supposed to sink the sub. They're basically saying, hey, surface, we know you're there. But the Soviets don't know that. Inside the sub, the officers think, World War III has started. They think they're under attack, and they have nuclear torpedoes. The captain wants to launch. The political officer also wants to launch. But there's a third guy. His name is Vasily Arkhipov. And for some reason, maybe he's calmer. Maybe he just doesn't trust the situation. He says no. On a Soviet submarine, you need all 3 officers to agree to launch a nuke. 2 said yes, 1 said no. So the torpedo stays in the tube. The sub surfaces. The crisis continues, but it doesn't end in nuclear fire. If Vasily Arkhipov wasn't on that sub, if literally anyone else had been standing there, that nuke launches. America retaliates. The Soviets retaliate. The world ends. We're alive because one guy said, "Hold on, that's it. That's the margin." The spy who overslept June 6, 1944. D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. America and the Allies are storming the beaches of Normandy. Thousands of soldiers, thousands of ships. Everything is riding on this. And Germany could have stopped it. The Nazis had panzer tank divisions stationed just inland. If those tanks had rolled to the beaches in the first few hours, they could have torn the invasion apart. But there's a problem. Hitler is asleep, and nobody wants to wake him up. See, Hitler had given specific orders. No one moves the panzer divisions without his personal approval. No exceptions. So when the invasion starts, his officers are standing around going, should we wake him? This seems important. But they don't. Because he's been in a bad mood lately, and also it's Hitler, and nobody wants to be the guy who wakes up Hitler. Hours go by. By the time he wakes up, has breakfast, gets briefed, and finally gives the order, the Allies have already secured the beaches. The invasion that saved Europe happened because a dictator slept in, and nobody wanted to knock on his door. The telegram that almost brought Mexico in January 1917, World War I, America's still sitting on the sidelines, trying to stay neutral. Germany's losing. Badly. And they know if America joins the war, it's over. So they come up with a plan. Germany sends a secret telegram to Mexico. The message says, "Hey, if you attack the United States, we'll help you take back Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona." Yeah. Now, if that telegram reaches Mexico, and they actually consider it, America has a completely different problem. Suddenly there's a war on the southern border, and Europe becomes a sideshow. But the British intercept it, decode it, and hand it to the Americans. The public goes ballistic. America enters World War I a few months later. Not because of some grand moral stance, but because Germany tried to start a war in Texas. If the British don't intercept that telegram, if it stays secret, America might not join the war. Germany might survive a little longer. The whole 20th century looks different. But they did intercept it. And once again, luck kept the country on track. The false alarm that nearly ended the world September 26, 1983. The Cold War is tense. The Soviets and Americans are one bad day away from Armageddon. And then, a Soviet early warning system detects 5 American nuclear missiles heading toward Moscow. 5 ICBMs. Launched. Inbound. Protocol says, if America launches, you launch back. Immediately. Before their missiles hit you. The officer on duty is a guy named Stanislav Petrov. He's got minutes to decide. The alarms are screaming. His screen says the missiles are real. If he reports this up the chain, the Soviet Union launches. America launches back. Billions die. But Petrov looks at the data, and something feels wrong. Why only 5 missiles? If America's launching a first strike, wouldn't they send hundreds? He makes a call. He reports it as a false alarm. Turns out, it was a false alarm. a glitch, sunlight reflecting off clouds. But Petrov didn't know that. He just had a hunch. If anyone else had been sitting in that chair, someone more by the book, that's it. The world ends. We're here because one Soviet officer decided to trust his gut. So there you have it. 6 times America, and in some cases, the entire world, survived on pure, unfiltered luck. A fog that rolled in at the perfect moment. A letter that got lost in the mail. A Soviet officer who said, "Wait." A dictator who overslept. A telegram that got intercepted. And a guy who ignored his computer screen. Here's the uncomfortable truth. History isn't inevitable. It's not destiny. It's not some grand plan. It's a dice roll. Over and over and over again. And sometimes, we just get lucky. The question is, how much luck do we have left?